Daycare!
Away!
Every time. Impact of daycare. So we need to start this off with this definition of social development.
So, this is the development of interpersonal relationships, namely how much children seek and enjoy the company of others, so how sociable they are. Through social development, children acquire the social skills which are appropriate in society.
They are. Now, outline different types of daycare. We have nursery-based daycare,
Which is trained, paid staff and children. The children learn through play, and there's generally less staff than there are children.
family-based daycare.
This is staying with relatives or family. It's a less formal form of daycare.
Registered childminders.
No structured activities, often at the home of the childminder. The childminder is also registered with a board.
Nanny or an au pair.
Goes to child's house and looks after and helps out around the house.
And informal arrangements.
This can be just as simple as going to a friend's house.
It can. So, if we would like to talk about types of daycare again, we have some study. Well, we have a study.
A supporting study here.
This happened in Sweden, where children from 18 months to 3.5 years old were studied. 9 of these were going to childminders, 30 to nurseries. 9 of them went to both. And there was 50 controls, so the ones that just stayed at home and had no daycare. The long days at daycare found that these infants were less socially competent and more aggressive, whereas those who only had short days of daycare were more socially competent, probably because they were less tired from trying to get attention. Also, high quality daycare, so lots of activities during the day, things to do, equated to better social abilities, and those socially skilled at 3.5 years also continued to be socially skilled at 15 years. So it's good because it's longitudinal, it carried on going on, but that's evaluation. Also, high quality of care is obviously very important for future developments, is what they concluded.
Okay. The evaluation of this, it's a prospective study. It follows children throughout adolescence to see if daycare has any long-term effects. So that's a good thing. Children were assessed before the study started, to find a baseline level of social skills. So that's also good. It meant that more sociable children weren't directly compared with the less sociable ones. However, a confounding point is that daycare facilities are very well funded in Sweden. So you can't really generalize to other countries, so it lacks population and cultural validity.
Yes, so now we have the main juiciness of daycare, which we need to talk about the negative and positive effects on social development that daycare has. So if we start off with the negative effects, we have a study. This is the NICHD study, which stands for the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development.
Awesome. Basically, there are 1,000 children from diverse families and 10 different locations. So it's a pretty well spread study. It's a longitudinal study. So at 5 years old, more time in daycare meant a more assertive child. They were more disobedient and aggressive. So more than 30 hours a week in daycare. 17% of the children were aggressive. Less than 10 hours a week, 6% were aggressive. And in full-time daycare, they were 3 times more likely to be aggressive.
And we can evaluate this with some points. Minus points are that 17% is actually quite low for aggressive. But it's still statistically significant, so it depends on how you look at it for that one. Another confounding point is that mother's sensitivity to the child could affect their aggression more. So they could be more strongly affected by factors at home. And also it's correlational. So other factors like the ones I've just said could be involved.
Okay, let's go.
We also have a tiny little study here, just in case you want a little bit more research. The This was on attachment. So they found that more time spent in daycare before the age of 1, you are more likely to be insecurely attached.
Makes sense.
So you can stick that one in. I hope you're not yawning there, Joe.
I was yawning. I woke up way too early.
Oh well.
So some
We still have positive effects.
Positive effects on social development. The Friends study. Friends stick together. Do you want to do this one?
This was about the amount of time spent in daycare. They found that it positively correlated with the number of friends at school. So the more time you spent in daycare, the more friends you had at school. It also found that teens who had experienced full-time high-quality daycare were rated most popular, so therefore had a higher self-esteem.
Evaluation now. So a negative point would be this is correlational data. So it could be that the shy and unsociable children had shy and unsociable mothers, so don't go to daycare.
Yeah, just so that they don't go to daycare altogether, because they were shy and unsociable. Not necessarily because they spent no time in daycare. It was just because their mother caused that, not the daycare.
So,
is that a guitar?
Yes, it is. Social skills study consisted of 150 children. Those in daycare had more advanced social development. The advances include independence and social interactions with peers. Yeah.
So if we go generally to daycare research, we can evaluate this with some weaknesses. First off, we have individual differences, as we keep saying, between the children, such as attachment types, etc. Variety of daycare settings were used, so it's difficult to fairly compare. For example, differences in adult-to-child ratio or start-finish time. And also, like we said before, in Sweden, where they were very well-funded, that's obviously difficult to fairly compare them there. Also, it's difficult to assess the quality of the daycare, as the employees may actually display social desirability to the children that they like more. Another point is that children start daycare at different ages, so we can't necessarily assume that they'll be affected in the same way. And finally, families who use nurseries compared to relatives probably differ from each other anyway, which may cause the results.
Okay, cool. So, what are we moving on to now?
So now we've got the last tiny bit here on daycare.
Oh, finally. So this is implications of daycare research.
Yeah, so what does the research suggest?
It suggests that children need to have a secure attachment with an adult. So they need that, apparently. So children can have multiple attachments with a wide range of different adults. Children need to use their attachment figure as a safe base to explore their environment and seek security. Children should be able to rely on their attachment figure when they're stressed or frightened. That one makes sense. Children find daycare stressful and had higher cortisol levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone when they're in daycare. Cortisol levels gradually increase throughout the day when spent at daycare, but not when at home.
Yes, so that's what the research suggests. So what can we say is good daycare? Well, we have concluded that these are the things you could say if asked what constitutes as good daycare. First of all, you need lots of activities, a stimulating environment, and a structured day, because routine makes children feel comfortable. Also, a high ratio of adults to children, so that children have plenty of attention. Physical and emotional safety is also good, so for the environment and also the people. Key workers for attachments. This reduces the children's cortisol levels. So key people in the daycare centres that are there to make the attachments with the children. Also, a low staff turnover is good. This avoids attachment disruptions when staff move on. So if we always have the same staff, then they'll be much more happy. Also, small groups in daycare is good, so that the small groups of children, that is, so that it reduces stranger distress, so they always know who they're with. And also mixed age groups is good as well. And that finishes daycare.
Hooray!
And also the whole of developmental, and the whole of Unit 1.
Hooray!
We got a little outro jingle.